What do you think most young people dream about in the future, or what are your dreams for the future?
Me personally, my dreams, I want to go to the WNBA. That's been my dream since I was little. But like WNBA. But obviously, like when I get money, a lot of people when they get money, they change. Like they get me.
Yeah, it's like money changes.
But me, I know when I get rich and where I want to be, I'm not gonna change. I'm always remember where I came from. And I already said when I make my money, I'm gonna get back. Like been saying, I want to help the homeless. Nobody is trying to help them no more. Like if you're gonna see, bro, it's horrible. Like every time I see it, I cry because it's like we're not helping at all.
Homeless people are trying to help the homeless. Homeless people, sometimes they just don't. It's a lot of programs out there. Cause my mom, she works for like a homeless program, and she sees it a lot. Like some homeless people don't want help. They just spend their money on drinks and stuff like that. It's a lot of programs out there. They just open like a high-rise building, downtown or somewhere for homeless people.
Oh yeah, that house there, huh?
Yeah,
they don't want it.
His hand been up for a long time.
Cause he thirsty. Go ahead, say it, boy, please forget.
Cause I was about to. So I got a good question. How can you help your community now, though? What can you you can help this year?
What can we come up with?
Years for what?
I mean, I don't got like that, but
If you did,
if I can, if I see maybe a homeless person standing out on the street or something, and I got a whole food in my hand, I'm like, you know what? I eat every day. They probably don't, so I give it to them. So it's I don't know. I help the best way I can. Yeah.
But some homeless people don't want help. They stuck in their way. Some of them are addicts and stuff like that. So how you help them? They don't want help.
I mean, I feel like some people you can't help, but at the same time, I feel like those homeless people, the ones that don't want to be helped, I feel like they just been through so much, and they feel like you're gonna be that one person that gave up on them a long time ago. So it's what you trying to help you for. So I feel like you can't just give up on a person the first time you gotta keep trying with somebody because you never know what those homeless people go through. So it's you gotta keep trying. You can't give up on them.
I'm sitting up here and I'm listening to y'all, and I'm like,
amazing.
Y'all sound so intelligent. You sound like you my age. The way you articulate, the way you say things, and you have a, and you make me believe in the future. I had, when I first came home, I thought that it was a lost cause. But coming in here and listening to you, this is why I'm the way I am now. Because there's many of y'all out there that if you get the proper guidance, you led the right way, you could be running for president one day. Hey, straight up. You could be the next senator. You could be the next congresswoman. And when you have that giver mentality, you want to give, those are things you're supposed to be doing. You're supposed to be trying to get in these positions where you can make a difference, where you can serve the people. That's the problem. You wonder why the homeless and why all these things are the way they are, why people are struggling, because people are in these positions and they're not serving people. They're in it for their own, because they won't, it's about them. So y'all remember that. Y'all remember that's why you want to be active. You want to be actively involved in your community. Because the way you was just talking, I vote for you. Not for real. This is the things that I listen for. This is the things I want to hear. The people that want to serve, they want to do for their community, want to give back to their community. Not go somewhere and start dealing with the big corporate oil people. To pollute the water even that much more because they're gonna give you a big check. So y'all keep that in mind. You are the future. And somebody in this room could be the next president, could be the next senator, could be the next governor.
I just want to say real quick to defend the youth, right? Stories are powerful, but they're more powerful when you look at the data to back it up. And so there's every generation gets bashed on by the generations before. This generation, their elders were talking about how they were out of control with banging or whatever. Their parents were talked about by their grandparents that they were out of control with drugs or whatever. Every generation coming up gets bashed on by the generation before. But when you look at the statistics, you guys' generation has the lowest level of violence since the 1960s. You're way, like, when your parents were coming up in the streets of Los Angeles, there were about 2,000, sometimes some years 3,000 people a year getting murdered in LA. This year, 200. So I just want you to take a moment and pause and clap for yourselves and clap for your friends, because you're a lot less violent than we were, right? Secondly, as bad as fentanyl is and as bad as the overdose rate is, because fentanyl is very dangerous, your generation uses less drugs than the last generation, and way less drugs than the ones in the 60s. And on top of that, black and brown youth use less drugs than white youth. So there's a lot too that, like, the media says black youth this, brown youth this, but when you look at the statistics, black and brown youth use less drugs than white youth. Then on top of that, if you look at teen pregnancy in the 60s and 70s and 80s was way higher than it is now. So your generation is waiting to have kids until you're able to pay for them and you get through school and all that. And even though we don't see all the accomplishments we want to, there's also a lot more kids now, a lot more young people now, black and brown young people included, going to college. So when people start to say this generation is this generation is disrespectful, this generation blah, 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 every generation has its struggles, but I want you to stand tall with your heads held high that your generation is doing much better than past generations. And that you have learned, you either learned on your own or you've learned from the past, but you're not making the same mistakes. And yes, there's a lot of people that are lazy that don't do stuff for others, but there's a whole generation of Palestinians in Gaza fighting for their life every day and dying so that they can have a piece of land. There are young people 14 to 21 in Ukraine that are fighting for their land and trying to push out one of the most powerful armies, in this case Russia, in the world, in the history of the world, trying to push them out of their country. There's young people in Sudan and Congo that are fighting every day so that women can go to school and go to work without getting raped, so that the wars can stop in their countries, you know? So all of that stuff will still happen. But I want you to just know you can hold your heads up high. Young people all over the world are doing amazing things, courageous things, and that your generation in many ways is doing things better than the past. Because you don't get enough, every generation gets bashed on, and I want you to know that the statistics don't lie, and you're doing good. Not as much as you want to do, but you're doing good.